Are anamorphic lenses overhyped, or should you get some? Welcome back to the channel. It's been a while since the last video because I was traveling since November and had a lot of huge projects going on. So I'm happy to get back to YouTube, and today I'm happy to show you the anamorphic lenses from Sirui here. We got the Saturn lenses, the 35, 50 and 75mm, and I don't want to go into technically about the specs of these lenses because there are a lot of other YouTubers which do a very great job at it. I just want to share my own experience with the Saturn lenses because I took them to China, so I have some footage from Beijing and also Hong Kong, and I was that confident to use them, so I actually brought them on a real project shoot as well. And as a disclaimer, Sirui did send me out these lenses, but they didn't tell me to do a video about it on YouTube, so this is an unbiased review about their Saturn lenses. Alright, let's talk about the gear first, which I used to film these kind of sequences. So my main setup is a Sony a7S III, and because the Saturn lenses have a Sony E-mount and also other mounts as well, I can just use it like a regular lens. And as you can see, I have an adapter ring in front of the lens here, so I can screw on my ND and mist filter on top of it, because I like the misty look, and you need an ND filter anyway if you want to shoot during the day. Sometimes you don't want to shoot everything in 50 or 100 FPS as well. So these are my first ever anamorphic lenses, and I was a little bit confused in the beginning, as well as you probably are if you're considering to get your first anamorphics. So as I told you, everything works exactly the same as a normal lens. You have your aperture ring down here, you have your focus ring up here, even with some markings in meters and feet. And everything looks normal, right? But as soon as you turn on your camera, your image or video footage looks pretty weird because it's not de-squeezed yet. So footage from anamorphic lenses needs to be de-squeezed in post. That's why you need an external monitor if you have an a7S III like me, or if you have an FX3 or other cameras which have a de-squeeze function, you can use it without any external monitor. So that means you always have to bring a bigger setup like a top handle and a monitor, or this is what I do if I use these lenses. I usually use a follow focus, such as the small rig one, as you can see here. I just say it's a lot easier because if you do it like this, it's left and right, so you don't know like if it's focusing further or closer to you. If you have a focus pulling system, you can pull and push. So if you push it into the far direction, you're gonna focus in this direction, and if you pull it to you, it's gonna pull closer. So this is just for my brain a lot easier than using this as a focus, but it's just as any normal lens actually. Also, if you have an FX3 with a de-squeeze mode on the internal monitor on the camera, I would still suggest you to get an external monitor because, I mean, for me, focusing manually with this little monitor, I'm not sure if I can do that on T2.9 here, because sometimes it looks like it's in focus on this little monitor, but on the big screen, it's going to be out of focus, trust me. And also the lowest T-stop here is at 2.9, which is equivalent to f2.8, which is pretty good in my opinion. If you focus manually, 2.9 is quite good for me, and considering the price, it's pretty solid. As you can also see, the outside here is made of carbon fiber, and look at the form factor, it's super small. I know this is a zoom lens, a G Master 16-35, but still look at the size difference here. I mean, oops. Usually you don't get anamorphics that small. Maybe you saw their Venus lenses. These are maybe double the size of these here, and these are so lightweight, so you can just put them into your backpack. I had no problems at all traveling with these. And there are in total 3 different focal lengths, and they are gonna add some more in the future, but for now we have the 35, 50 and 75mm, all at T2.9. The de-squeeze factor here is at 1.6, which means you have to de-squeeze your image in post, either in DaVinci Resolve or in Premiere Pro or Final Cut. In DaVinci Resolve, for example, you just add the de-squeeze factor as soon as you imported your media, and that's already it. And now you have, of course, the black bars on top and bottom, but this is totally normal for anamorphic lenses, so you have to consider that as well. And by the way, because you have a wider field of view, the 35 doesn't feel like 35 millimeter. It feels more like a 24, and the 50 feels more like a 35, 40 millimeter focal length, in my opinion. And yeah, 75 is around like 60, 50 for me, but this is totally normal for anamorphic lenses. Also, the closest focus distance is pretty far away. You can solve this problem by using diopters if you want to take really close-up micro shots. And if you want to get some step-up rings like I did, I actually got step-up rings for every single lens, so I don't have to swap them around. And also, two of the lenses have a 62 diameter, and the 35mm version has a 58mm diameter. I don't know why, but that's how it is. If you consider to get some, just make sure you get two of the same sizes and one for the 35mm. So if you're using a Sony lens, you have in-body stabilization, which I suggest you to turn off because the image is going to be a little bit wobbly because of the anamorphic squeeze. Somehow it shifts around and looks pretty weird in some occasions, so I would suggest you to fully turn it off. Alright, let's get into the nitty-gritty part of this review. I'm going to show you some footage here. Alright, so I really felt comfortable using these lenses. It was pretty easy to pull focus. At the beginning, it might be a little bit more difficult if you're used to autofocus lenses, but after a couple minutes or hours of practice, you get really used to it, and it's actually more fun sometimes to have manual focus. I prefer manual focus because autofocus sometimes just snaps somewhere you don't want. So having full control over your focus is very beneficial, and sometimes you don't even want to have that perfect in-focus video. It looks more natural if the focus shifts a little bit back and forward. I mean, if it's on purpose and not like super random the whole time. But for me, that was not a big problem to hold focus and also move the camera itself to get some movement into the footage. And also when I used it on a gimbal, I used a focus pulling system on the June Crane 4, which is also pretty easy to use. Yeah, sometimes you need a couple of tries to get your shot perfectly, but I think most scenarios which you are going to use anamorphic lenses are really project shoots or shoots you can actually plan to take a couple shots, like 2, 3, 4, 5 takes. So you can always go back, reshoot it, and just get the focus right and everything, because maybe you're distracted or you're not that focused. It can all happen. So if you're a one-man band, of course, if you have a crew with a dedicated focus puller, this is a no-brainer then. By the way, you can get each of these lenses for a regular retail price at $1,299 US, and as I can see right now, they are on sale for $1,104 US, which is a steal compared to other anamorphic lenses which are close to the 5 figures area. Or you can get yourself a 3-lens set for $36.99 US, or with the running promotion for $31.44 US. And they are also available with neutral or blue anamorphic flares. I hope you enjoyed this kind of review, and I have a lot of stuff coming up. So I really try to get on long form content like this on YouTube. Hopefully you enjoyed this one. Let me know if you have any further questions down below in the comments. And if you haven't seen my other video about the Sirui sniper lenses, here is the link to it, and I will catch you there.